Let me begin with a truth that might sting a little. If you have no discipline, you will stay weak forever. I know that sounds harsh, but it's not meant to tear you down, it's meant to wake you up. Discipline is the bridge between goals and reality. It's the quiet force behind every success story. Talent without discipline fades, dreams without discipline die, and strength, whether mental, emotional, or physical, cannot survive without it. In a world full of distractions, comfort zones, and excuses, discipline is what separates the few who rise from the many who remain stuck. If you want change, growth, success, or strength, it won't come by accident. It comes by choice, repeated every single day. 1. Discipline builds strength, not motivation. A common misconception is that motivation is what drives success. People wait around for the perfect moment, the right feeling, or a surge of inspiration before they take action. But here's the hard truth: motivation is fleeting, it's unreliable, it comes in waves, and it disappears just as fast. If you build your life around motivation, you will only make progress when you feel like it. And let's be honest, those moments are rare. Discipline, on the other hand, is solid. It doesn't rely on emotion or inspiration. It is a conscious choice to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline says, I'm tired, but I'm still going to show up. It says, I'm not in the mood, but the work still matters. That kind of consistency, showing up day after day, is what builds real strength. Imagine an athlete. They don't become elite by training only when they're pumped up or excited. They become elite because they show up at 5 a.m. When no one's watching. They run when it's cold. They lift when they're sore. Their strength isn't born from hype, it's forged in discipline. The same applies to every part of life: your studies, your job, your relationships, your health. If you wait for motivation to strike, you'll waste valuable time and stay stuck. But if you rely on discipline, you can keep moving forward, even on the days when everything feels heavy. Discipline is what builds your mental toughness. It's what separates short-term effort from long-term excellence. And over time, it transforms into a quiet confidence, the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout, because it shows up in results. So if you want to be strong, truly strong, stop chasing motivation. Start training your discipline. That's the only path to consistent progress and lasting power. 2. Excuses keep you comfortable, and weak excuses are easy. They come naturally. The moment things get hard or inconvenient, the mind starts searching for a way out. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'll start tomorrow. These phrases feel harmless, even reasonable. But make no mistake, excuses are the enemies of progress, and over time, they build a cage that traps you in weakness. What excuses really do is protect your comfort. They shield you from discomfort, effort, and challenge, all of which are necessary ingredients for growth. Every time you say, I can't, you're choosing to stay where it's easy, where you're in control, and where you don't have to stretch yourself. But here's the brutal truth: nothing meaningful happens in that comfort zone. Excuses provide momentary relief, but they rob you of long-term results. You skip the gym because it's raining, and it feels like no big deal, but that missed workout becomes a pattern. You avoid a difficult conversation because it's awkward, and you stay stuck in the same broken relationship. You delay studying because you're not in the mood, and the grades reflect it. One excuse turns into another, and slowly, weakness becomes a habit. Worse yet, excuses trick you into thinking you're being honest or self-aware. But more often than not, they're just cleverly disguised fear or laziness, fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of looking stupid, laziness that whispers you've done enough when you've barely begun. People who succeed, the strong, the disciplined, have the same urges to make excuses. The difference is they don't listen. They feel the temptation to slack off, to give in, to delay, and they push through it anyway. Not because it's easy, but because they know every excuse they resist makes them stronger. You have to realize this. Every excuse is a missed opportunity to build your character. When you choose the hard thing over the excuse, you develop mental resilience. You train your brain to stay focused, your body to keep going, and your spirit to rise instead of retreat. Bit by bit, you become the kind of person who does what's necessary, not just what's convenient. And the more you reject excuses, the less power they have. You begin to see through them. You realize they're lies your mind tells you to stay weak. And once you stop believing those lies, real strength can begin to take root. 3. Comfort zones kill growth. Your comfort zone feels safe. It's predictable, familiar, and easy. In your comfort zone, you don't face risk. You don't get embarrassed. You don't fail. But here's the brutal truth: you also don't grow. You don't get better. You don't evolve. You stay exactly where you are, and over time, that safety turns into stagnation. Growth and strength demand discomfort. They require challenge. They require you to do things you've never done, go places you've never been, and face fears you'd rather avoid. Discipline is the tool that forces you out of the comfort zone and into the growth zone. It makes you do the hard things: the early mornings, the extra reps, the tough conversations, the late night studying even when your instincts beg you to stay comfortable. The truth is, your comfort zone is not just a place, it's a mindset. It's the voice that says you've done enough for today. It's the urge to take the easy route, to play it safe, to avoid stress or criticism, and every time you obey that voice, you reinforce the walls that keep you small. Comfort might feel good in the short term, but it comes with a cost. Over time, it erodes your potential. You start to fear the unfamiliar. You doubt your capabilities. You stop aiming higher because you've convinced yourself that where you are is good enough. But deep down, you know the truth. You're capable of more, you're just not pushing for it. Every successful person you admire has stepped far outside their comfort zone. They've failed, they've stumbled, they've been afraid, but they embraced that discomfort because they knew it was the only way to level up. Strength is built in the stretch, not in the shelter. Just like a muscle grows when it's challenged and broken down, your mind and spirit grow when they are tested, when they are pushed beyond what's comfortable. And yes, leaving your comfort zone feels risky. It feels vulnerable, but that's where the real transformation happens. That's where discipline steps in and says, you're not staying here, you're meant for more. So ask yourself, are you living in your comfort or are you living in your potential? Because the two rarely exist in the same place. 4. Every choice is a vote for your future life is made up of choices, small, seemingly insignificant decisions that pile up and shape who you become. Every morning you decide to hit snooze or get up early. You choose to study or scroll. You pick between working out or skipping it, between preparing or procrastinating. These choices don't just disappear after you make them, they accumulate, they form patterns. And those patterns become your habits. Over time, your habits become your future. When you understand that every choice is a vote for the person you want to become, you start to take your decisions more seriously. Discipline is what helps you cast the right vote even when it's hard. It's easy to vote for comfort, for convenience, for temporary relief. But those votes don't serve your long-term vision. They serve the version of you that wants to stay the same. If you keep voting for that version of yourself, that's who you'll remain. The stronger version of you, the more focused, capable, and resilient one, is built through deliberate choices. Discipline helps you make those choices consistently. Not just once, but day after day, especially when nobody's watching and no one's giving you credit. That's when it matters most, because your future isn't built by one big decision, it's built by thousands of small ones. Every time you choose to show up when you don't feel like it, you're casting a vote for strength. Every time you say no to a distraction, you're voting for focus. Every time you push through resistance and finish something you started, you're telling your future self, I'm building something real. Over time, those votes create momentum, and momentum creates transformation. People often underestimate the power of their daily decisions. They think big dreams are built with big moves, but that's rarely the case. It's the small, repeated, disciplined actions that move the needle. Eating one healthy meal won't change your body, but eating healthy consistently will. Reading one page won't change your mind, but reading every day will reshape your thinking. It's all about consistency through choice, so ask yourself, what are you voting for today? Because your future self is shaped by every decision you make now. Discipline is what keeps you aligned with the future you want, not the temporary comfort you crave. 5. Discipline is doing what you hate like you love it. There's a common myth that successful people enjoy everything they do, that they wake up thrilled to train, study, work long hours, or grind through difficult tasks. But that's not the full picture. The truth is, even the most disciplined people don't always like what they have to do. They face boredom, discomfort, resistance, and fatigue just like anyone else. The difference is that they do it anyway. In fact, they train themselves to treat the hard, unpleasant, repetitive parts of the journey like they matter because they do. Discipline is doing what you hate like you love it because you love the outcome. You might hate waking up early, but you love the productivity it brings. You might hate working out until your muscles ache, but you love the strength you gain. You might hate studying for hours while your friends are out, but you love the results when you ace that exam or earn that degree. The disciplined mind understands that short-term discomfort is the price of long-term greatness. Too often, people give up the moment something feels difficult or boring. They think their discomfort is a sign that something's wrong. But in reality, discomfort is a signal that you're stretching your limits, and that's exactly where growth happens. Discipline takes that discomfort and turns it into fuel. It says, "This is hard, but that's why it matters." It reframes the pain as purpose. When you train yourself to embrace, even welcome the things you hate, something powerful happens. You take control of your willpower. You stop being a slave to your moods, your impulses, or your environment. You become someone who follows through, no matter what, and that consistency builds trust with yourself. Every time you show up and do the work, even when you hate it, you prove to yourself that your goals matter more than your feelings. This mindset separates winners from wishers. Anyone can act when it's fun or exciting, but when the novelty wears off, when the work gets dull or exhausting, only the disciplined keep going. That's where breakthroughs are made. That's when real transformation happens, not during the high-energy moments, but in the quiet, gritty discipline of repetition. Think of soldiers, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, anyone who operates at a high level. They've all mastered the art of doing what needs to be done, regardless of whether they enjoy it. They don't wait to feel inspired. They act with intention. They've learned to perform through pain, focus through frustration, and persist through pressure. That's what separates strength from weakness. So no, you don't have to love every part of the process, but you do have to respect it. You do have to commit to it. And when you can show up and do what you hate like you love it with energy, with effort, and without complaint, that's when you know discipline is in control. 6. Without discipline, talent is wasted. Talent is a gift, but without discipline, it's a gift left unopened. You can be the most naturally gifted person in the room, the smartest, the strongest, the most creative, but if you lack the discipline to develop and apply that talent consistently, it will never amount to anything more than untapped potential. There are countless people in the world with extraordinary abilities who go nowhere. Why? Because they rely on their talent alone. They think their natural edge is enough to carry them to success. But talent without effort is just potential energy. It looks impressive from the outside, but it never actually moves. Discipline is what turns talent into power. Discipline is the difference between being good and becoming great. It's the grind behind the scenes, the boring repetitions, the hours of practice when no one's watching. Talent might get you noticed, but discipline is what gets you results. It's what builds consistency, and in the real world, consistency beats raw ability almost every time. Think of a naturally gifted athlete who never trains, skips workouts, and avoids hard practices. That talent will eventually plateau, then decline. Meanwhile, a less talented athlete who shows up every single day, listens to feedback, and puts in the reps will keep improving. Over time, that disciplined worker surpasses the gifted slacker not because they had more to start with, but because they had the drive to keep going. This doesn't just apply to sports. It applies to academics, business, music, art, everything. A talented writer who never writes won't publish. A brilliant student who never studies won't succeed. An entrepreneur with great ideas but no execution will watch others bring their visions to life. Discipline is the muscle that lifts talent out of imagination and into reality. Even worse, talent without discipline can create a false sense of security. People who rely too much on natural ability often avoid putting in real work because they've always coasted. But the world eventually catches up. At some point, the competition gets fiercer, the challenges get harder, and talent alone is no longer enough. Without discipline, the person who once seemed ahead suddenly finds themselves stuck, confused, frustrated, and falling behind. On the other hand, the disciplined person, even if they start slow, keeps rising. They aren't afraid of effort. They don't crumble under pressure. They've built the habits, the mindset, and the toughness required to thrive when talent hits its ceiling. So if you're gifted in any area, whether it's intelligence, athleticism, creativity, leadership, don't waste it by being lazy or inconsistent. Talent is your starting point. Discipline is how you finish the race. 7. You're either getting stronger or staying the same. There is no such thing as standing still in life. Every day, every action, every decision is either moving you forward or holding you in place. Progress and stagnation don't happen in giant leaps. They happen through small, repeated choices. And that's why discipline is so essential. It's the daily commitment to do what makes you stronger, even when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or hard. Without that commitment, you don't grow, you remain stuck. Many people live under the illusion that staying the same is safe, that if they don't put in extra effort, at least they won't lose anything. But the truth is, staying the same is a slow form of decline. Life is always changing. Challenges increase, expectations rise, time moves forward whether you do or not. If you're not actively pushing yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, you're not holding your ground. You're falling behind. Strength doesn't come from what you occasionally do. It comes from what you consistently practice. That means every day you choose discipline, every time you wake up early. Go the extra mile, stay focused, or push through discomfort. You're building yourself. You're expanding your limits, sharpening your skills, and becoming harder to break. That's how real strength is formed, not in bursts of effort, but through the quiet repetition of disciplined action. Now flip that. Every time you skip what matters, every time you give in to distraction or delay your goals, you're reinforcing weakness. Not because you're a failure, but because you're conditioning yourself to avoid challenge. And the more you avoid challenge, the more you shrink from opportunities that could change your life. Think about people you admire, leaders, athletes, creators, visionaries. They didn't wake up one day with incredible strength. They became strong by deciding every single day to grow. They refused to settle. They refused to be average. They understood this simple truth. If you're not growing, you're not going anywhere. Strength is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looks like quietly showing up to train. Sometimes it's choosing focus over fun, structure over chaos, long-term gain over short-term comfort. These aren't glamorous moments, but they're powerful. Because every time you choose discipline over ease, you're stepping away from who you were and stepping into who you're meant to be. So if you feel stuck, ask yourself honestly, are you choosing strength? Or are you choosing the same routines, the same excuses, the same patterns that have kept you stagnant? Growth doesn't happen by accident. It's intentional, and without discipline, that intention never becomes action.